The mining station hung in the darkness like a bright jewel. Jangmi 7 was its name, and it floated among the asteroids far from Earth. Commander Daehyun stood in the control room watching the rocks drift past the windows. He held a cup of coffee in his hands. It was a normal day, or it was supposed to be. The alarm began to beep. Not loud, just a gentle warning sound. Minji looked up from her screens. She was the chief engineer, young and always excited about new things. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. "Commander, we have something," she said. "A ship, but it's not like anything in our database." Daehyun walked to her station. He was a calm man in his 40s with gray starting to show in his hair. He had been in the military once, but now he preferred the quiet life of mining rocks in space. He looked at the screen and raised his eyebrows. The ship was huge. It looked alive somehow, with lights moving across its surface like breathing. It had appeared from nowhere, just a tear in space that opened and closed behind it. "First contact?" asked Hyunwoo from the security station. He was quiet most of the time, always watching and thinking. His hand moved toward the weapons controls, but Daehyun shook his head. "Let's see what they want first," Daehyun said. A message came through. The words appeared on the screen in perfect English. "Greetings. We are the Veltharn Collective. We request permission to dock. We mean no harm. We are scientists," Daehyun thought for a moment. Then he smiled slightly. "Well, that's polite. Give them permission, and call Sunhee to the docking bay." Sunhee was the medical officer. She had seen many things in her 50 years, and not much surprised her anymore. When she arrived at the docking bay with the others, she carried her medical kit and a calm expression. The alien came through the airlock. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, with hard plates covering its body like armor. It had many thin arms or feelers that moved gently in the air. 2 large eyes looked at them with what seemed like curiosity. "I am Overseer Velma," the alien said. The voice came from a device on its chest, translating its thoughts into words. "We are exploring this region of space. We study the species we meet. We would like to study you if you permit it." Daehyun stepped forward. He was not nervous, just interested. "Study us how?" "We have a device. We call it an empath probe. It reads emotions and fear responses. We have used it on thousands of species. It helps us understand how different beings think and feel. The process is harmless. You will simply watch some images while the probe reads your reactions." Minji was excited immediately. "That sounds amazing." "Can I see the probe?" Velma's feelers waved in what might have been amusement. "Yes, we appreciate your enthusiasm. Your species is new to us. We have not met humans before." They moved to the observation deck. It was a large room with windows showing the stars and asteroids outside. Velma brought out a sphere about the size of a basketball that floated in the air and glowed softly. "I'll go first," Daehyun said. "If it's safe, the others can try." He sat in a chair. The probe moved closer and began to glow brighter. Suddenly, images appeared in the air around him. They were holograms, but they looked very real. First, a large predator appeared, teeth bared, rushing toward him. Daehyun watched it calmly. "Good graphics," he said. The image changed. Now he was falling through space, the station disappearing above him. He looked around with interest. This is what it would look like. Interesting. More images came. Fire spreading through corridors. Asteroids hitting the station. Darkness and isolation. Each time Daehyun just watched, sometimes commenting on details. Velma's feelers began to move faster, which the humans would later learn meant confusion. "The probe is functioning correctly, but the readings, they show no fear response. This has never happened before. Should I be afraid?" Daehyun asked. "These are just pictures, but they represent real dangers, predators, death, the unknown. All species we have tested show fear responses to these stimuli. It is universal." "Or we thought it was." Minji bounced on her feet. "Can I try, please?" Velma agreed, still confused. Minji sat down and the probe started again. She laughed at the predator. She studied the falling scenario with an engineer's eye. "I could probably fix that," she said when machinery failed in one image. Hyunwoo went next. His readings were similar. Awareness, but not fear. He analyzed each threat like a tactical problem. When an image showed him surrounded by hostile aliens, he was already planning escape routes. Sunhee tried last. She watched everything with a doctor's calm. She had seen death before, held dying patients, worked through emergencies. The images were tame compared to real life. Velma's feelers were moving very fast now. This is unprecedented, impossible. Fear is the foundation of survival. All intelligent species have it. You must have it. We do have fear, Daehyun said, sitting down with the alien. But we've learned to live with it. We don't let it stop us from doing what needs to be done. But how? How can you function without letting fear guide you away from danger? Daehyun thought about this. Fear tells us something might be dangerous. But then we think about it. Is it really dangerous? Can we handle it? Is it worth the risk? We don't just react. We decide. Velma was quiet for a long time. The translator made small humming sounds as the alien thought. Finally it spoke again. I must report this to my superiors. This changes much of what we understand about intelligent life. May I request permission to stay and learn more about your species? You want to study us more? Minji asked, excited. Yes, you are fascinating, and possibly very dangerous. A species that does not fear might do anything. Daehyun smiled. We're not dangerous to friends. Stay as long as you need. We're happy to help. That night, after Velma had returned to their ship, the human crew gathered in the mess hall. They drank coffee and talked about the strange day. Do you think we're really that different? Minji asked. I mean, I get scared sometimes. Of course you do, Sun-hee said. We all do. But think about what we do when we're scared. We go to space on exploding rockets. We explore places where one mistake means death. We try new things even when they might fail. Hyunwoo nodded. Other species might stop when they feel fear. We just add it to the list of things to deal with. Daehyun looked out the window at the alien ship still glowing in the darkness. I think we're about to become very interesting to the galaxy. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad. But we'll handle it, Minji said with confidence. We always do, the others agreed. Outside, the stars shone cold and bright, full of mysteries they would surely explore. Fear or no fear, humans always kept moving forward. It was just what they did. 2 weeks had passed since the Veltarn arrived. Velma and their team had set up equipment all over the station. The aliens wanted to understand everything about humans. They watched. They asked questions. They took notes. And they remained deeply confused. Minji had given them access to human history files, entertainment, educational videos, everything she could find. The Veltarn spent days watching, and their confusion only grew worse. Why do humans climb mountains? Velma asked one morning. They were in the mess hall, drinking something that approximated tea for their biology. The risk of death is high. There is nothing of value at the top. Yet you do it anyway. Jiwon smiled. She was new to the station, sent by Earth to help explain human culture to the aliens. She was a historian, and found the whole situation fascinating. Because it's there, she said simply. That is not a logical reason. No, but it's a human reason. We see something difficult and we want to try it. We want to know if we can do it. The challenge itself is the point. Velma's feelers moved in their confusion pattern. But you might die. Yes, but we might also succeed. And that feeling of success after doing something hard, something we were afraid of, that's powerful. It makes us feel alive. The alien was quiet for a long time, thinking, always thinking. Finally, they said, I wish to understand this feeling. Can you teach me? Jiwon looked surprised, then pleased. You want to learn to be more like us? I want to understand. My people have been the same for thousands of years. We are stable, safe, but we have not grown. We have not changed. Perhaps we have been too afraid. That afternoon, Minji set up what she called a training exercise. She had cleared out the cargo bay and turned off the gravity. Now it was a floating playground full of obstacles and handholds. The idea is simple, she explained to Velma. You push off, float through the obstacles, and reach the other side. It's perfectly safe. The worst that can happen is you bump into something soft. Velma looked at the space. Their feelers were very still, which meant they were nervous. I do not like having no control of my movement. That's the point. Watch me first. Minji pushed off and flew through the air. She spun, laughing, bounced off a padded wall, grabbed a floating bar, and propelled herself to the other side. She made it look easy and fun. Your turn, she called. Velma moved to the starting position. They pushed off very slowly. Too slowly. They barely moved. Their feelers were wrapped tight around their body, a clear sign of stress. Let go, Minji encouraged. Trust the physics. Your body knows what to do. It took Velma an hour to cross the bay. They grabbed every handhold, moved with painful caution, and stopped many times. But they made it. How do you feel? Taehyun asked, watching from the doorway. Terrible. Uncomfortable. I did not enjoy that at all. Velma paused. But I did it. I completed the task despite my discomfort. That's the first step, Taehyun said, smiling. Tomorrow, try again. It will be easier. And it was. Each day, Velma practiced. By the end of the week, they could float through the bay without stopping. They were not graceful like Minji, but they could do it. And something strange was happening. They were starting to enjoy it. Then came the emergency. Alarms blared through the station at midnight. Everyone rushed to the control room, still in their sleep clothes. Asteroid fragment, Hyunwoo said, his fingers flying over the controls. It's on a collision course. The automated defense system is offline for maintenance. We have 12 minutes. Daehyun looked at the screen. The fragment was big enough to cause serious damage. Options? Someone needs to go outside and place charges on it. Manually redirect it, but the timing is tight. Velma's feelers moved rapidly. What is the probability of success? 57%, Hyunwoo said. But evacuation would take 20 minutes. We don't have that time. I will go, Hyunwoo said, already moving toward the airlock. Velma followed him. But you might die. The probability is unacceptable. Hyunwoo was pulling on his spacesuit. If I don't go, everyone might die. That's definitely unacceptable. This way most people survive. But you are afraid, yes? Velma had the portable probe with them and was scanning Hyunwoo. Sure, I'm afraid. But people need me to do this. He sealed his helmet and headed for the airlock. Fear of failing them is stronger than fear of the danger. They watched on the screens as Hyunwoo jetted out to the asteroid. He moved fast, precise, no wasted motion. He planted the charges in 8 minutes. Then he activated them and pushed away. The explosion was small but perfectly placed. The asteroid changed course, missing the station by 100 meters. Hyunwoo returned with 2 minutes to spare. When he came back inside, Velma was there, feelers moving in agitation. Your fear readings were present but managed. You acknowledged the danger but did not let it stop you. How? Hyunwoo took off his helmet. Training, experience, and knowing that some things are more important than being safe. That night, Velma called a meeting with their team. All 6 Veltharn gathered in their ship, reviewing the data. The conclusion was clear. Humans possess fear, Velma reported to the Veltharn Council via transmission, but they have developed psychological mechanisms to function despite it. They feel fear, acknowledge it, and then act anyway. This is not recklessness. This is something we have never seen before. The Council's response came hours later. Observe further. Learn if this can be taught. This could be valuable. The next morning, Velma approached Daehyun in the observation deck. The commander was drinking his coffee, watching the sunrise on a distant planet. Commander Daehyun, I have a request. I wish to learn more than just observation. I wish to learn to do what you do, to face fear and act despite it. Can this be taught? Daehyun looked at the alien, considering. Then he smiled. It took humans millions of years to get here. You want to learn it in what, a few weeks? I understand it may be difficult. Difficult, yes. Impossible, no. We can try. But you need to understand something. This means being uncomfortable. A lot. It means doing things that scare you on purpose. It means failing sometimes. Velma's feelers moved in what the humans had learned was determination. I am willing. My species has been safe for so long that we have stopped growing. I wish to grow, even if it is uncomfortable. Daehyun put down his coffee and extended his hand. Velma had learned this gesture meant agreement. They touched their feeler to his hand carefully. Then we'll teach you. But I want you to notice something. Right now, asking for help, admitting you want to change, that took courage. You felt fear about it, didn't you? Velma thought about this. Yes, I was afraid you would say no. Afraid I would fail. Afraid my people would think less of me for needing help. But you asked anyway. You felt the fear and did it anyway. That's the lesson right there. You're already learning. Daehyun smiled. You're learning fast. Velma's feelers moved in a new pattern, one the humans had never seen before. Later, they would learn it meant hope. 1 month later, the station had changed. The Veltharn were everywhere now, not just observing, but participating. Velma had asked for their entire team to join the training. The humans had agreed, finding the whole situation both amusing and touching. The cargo bay had become a permanent training area. Every morning, Velma and their team practiced the zero-gravity course. They were getting better. Not as good as the humans, but better than before. And more importantly, they were starting to enjoy it. One Veltharn named Kessera had even started doing unnecessary spins and tricks, just for fun. This shocked the others. Fun was not something Veltharn typically sought in dangerous situations. But Kessera explained that it was not dangerous anymore. They had learned to trust themselves. Hyunwoo had started a new training program. Emergency drills. He would simulate various disasters, fire, hull breaches, system failures, and the Veltharn had to respond quickly. At first, they struggled badly. Veltharn culture valued careful thought. Making quick decisions felt wrong to them. Dangerous. What if they chose incorrectly? But that's the point, Hyunwoo explained during one session. In a real emergency, you won't have time to think through every option. You need to act on instinct and training. Make the best choice you can with the information you have. You'll make mistakes. Everyone does. But a fast, decent decision is better than a slow, perfect one that comes too late. During one drill, Hyunwoo simulated a fire in the engine room. Smoke filled the corridors. Alarms screamed. The Veltharn team had to evacuate 3 humans and seal the affected section all in 5 minutes. Velma froze at first. Too many variables, too many risks, but Kessera just moved. They grabbed the first human and started pulling them toward safety. The action broke Velma's paralysis. The team surged into motion. Then disaster struck even in the simulation. A door jammed. The planned escape route was blocked. The Veltharn stopped again, confused. This was not in the procedure. Kessera looked around, saw a maintenance hatch. It was not designed for evacuation, but it led to safety. They made a decision without consulting anyone. "This way," they called. They got everyone out with 30 seconds to spare. When the drill ended, Kessera was shaking. They had improvised. They had made a choice that was not in the manual. What if they had been wrong? Hyunwoo put a hand on their shoulder. Gentle despite the species difference. But you weren't wrong. You saw a problem and you solved it. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. That was excellent work. Kessera's feelers moved in the pattern the humans now recognized as pride. Not all lessons were about action and danger. Sunhee had started a different kind of training. She called it emotional awareness. She invited Velma to the medical bay one afternoon for tea and conversation. "You're learning to act despite fear," she said, pouring hot water over the tea leaves. "But there's another part to this. Humans don't just push through fear. We also acknowledge it. We talk about it. We support each other through it." Velma was confused. "You share your fears? Does that not make you appear weak?" "Sometimes, but more often it makes us stronger. Let me tell you a story." Sunhee settled into her chair and her voice grew quiet. 10 years ago, I was on a small shuttle. Something went wrong. We lost power and drifted for 3 days before rescue came. I was alone. It was dark, cold, I was terrified. But you survived. Yes, but I still have nightmares about it. Sometimes I wake up feeling like I'm in that shuttle again. The fear stayed with me. Then you are damaged by the experience. Sunhee shook her head. Changed, not damaged. I learned things about myself, about my strength, about what I could endure. And when I talk about it, when I share that fear with others, it helps. Other people tell me their stories. We help each other carry the weight. Velma was quiet for a long time. Then slowly they began to speak. In my culture, fear is private. We do not share it. To admit fear is to admit weakness. But I have been afraid often since coming here. Afraid I would fail. Afraid my people would reject me for changing. Afraid that everything I believed about the universe was wrong. And how do you feel saying that out loud? Vulnerable. But also lighter. As if the fear weighs less when it is shared. Sunhee smiled. That's exactly right. And for what it's worth, you're not weak. You're one of the bravest beings I've ever met. It takes real courage to change everything you know. The final test came at the end of the month. Daehyun had proposed it. A real mission. Not a drill, not a simulation. The humans had a routine mining expedition planned to a nearby unstable asteroid. The Veltharn would join them. It's dangerous, Daehyun warned. The asteroid's gravity field is unpredictable. We'll need to work fast and adapt quickly. There will be risks. But it's what we do every week. Velma consulted with their team. Then they agreed. All 6 Veltharn would participate. The mission started well. They landed on the asteroid surface and began setting up the mining equipment. But the asteroid was more unstable than predicted. The gravity kept shifting. Equipment that should have stayed put began to drift. Then one of the drilling units failed. Minji was working on it when a section of the asteroid suddenly shifted. Rock and ice began to collapse around her. "Cave in," Hyunwoo shouted. "Everyone back to the ship." But Minji was trapped under debris. Not injured, but stuck, and more rock was falling. Daehyun moved to help her, but a chunk of ice blocked his path. Another Veltharn Threnal was closest. They saw the situation. Every instinct screamed at them to retreat to safety. The probability of injury was high. This was exactly the kind of danger their species avoided. But Threnal had been training. They had learned about acting despite fear, about helping others even when it was dangerous. They did not stop to think. They just moved. Threnal reached Minji in seconds, used their strong limbs to lift the debris, pulled her free, pushed her toward safety as more rock fell around them. Then they ran together, barely making it to clear ground before the entire section collapsed. Back on the ship, everyone was safe, but shaken. Minji hugged Threnal, which confused the Veltharn but seemed to please them. "You saved my life," she said. "Thank you." Threnal's feelers moved rapidly. "I was terrified. Every part of me wanted to run away. But you needed help. That was more important than my fear." Daehyun smiled at them. "That's what courage is. Not the absence of fear, but acting despite it. You did well, Threnal. You're becoming quite human." That night, back at the station, Velma requested another scan with the Empath probe. The team set it up, curious. Velma sat in front of it, and the probe began showing the same stimuli as the very first test. Predators, disasters, dangers. The readings were fascinating. Velma still showed fear responses. The fear was there, clear and present. But alongside it were new patterns: curiosity, determination, confidence. The probe registered something it had never seen in a Veltharn before: excitement. Velma studied the data carefully. "We are changing," they said quietly. "We feel fear, but we also feel other things now. Stronger things." Daehyun sat down beside them. "You're not becoming human. You're becoming the best version of yourselves. You always had this potential. You just needed permission to explore it. Perhaps. But we learned it from watching you. From your patience in teaching us. From your example." Velma's feelers moved in that pattern that meant hope. But there was something else now, too. Gratitude. Friendship. "Thank you, Commander Daehyun." Daehyun smiled. "You're welcome. And Velma, you're learning fast. Faster than I expected. I'm proud of you. All of you." Outside the window, the stars shone bright, and for the first time in their long history, the Veltharn looked at those stars not with caution but with eagerness. There was so much to explore, so much to discover. And they were no longer afraid to try. 3 months had passed. Word had spread through Veltharn space about the humans and their strange relationship with fear. Other species had heard too. Now ships were arriving at the station almost daily. Everyone wanted to see these remarkable humans for themselves. The Veltharn Council had sent representatives. 5 elders arrived on a massive ship, their presence filling the docking bay with formal authority. They were ancient beings who had guided their civilization for centuries. They were not easily impressed. The leader was Elder Bora. She was even taller than Velma, her plating marked with patterns that showed her great age. Her feelers moved slowly, deliberately. Everything about her spoke of caution and control. "Commander Daehyun," she said, her translator making her voice sound cold, "we have come to observe this phenomenon. Velma and their team have sent remarkable reports. But we remain skeptical. Fear is the foundation of survival. Species that abandon it do not last long." Daehyun met her gaze calmly. "We haven't abandoned fear, Elder. We've just learned to work with it instead of letting it control us." "Words," Elder Bora said dismissively. "We wish to see proof. Real proof, not controlled demonstrations." Before Daehyun could respond, an alert came through. An emergency signal from a ship in distress. A research vessel belonging to the Krell, another species, was trapped in a decaying orbit around a nearby gas giant. They had 14 crew members. The ship was failing. Time was running out. Hyunwoo pulled up the data. They have maybe 2 hours before they fall into the atmosphere. The gravitational forces around that planet are severe. A rescue would be extremely difficult. Elder Bora examined the data. The probability of a successful rescue is low, 39% by our calculations. The logical choice is to let them evacuate to escape pods if they have time. They don't have escape pods, Minji said, her fingers flying over her console. Their system is down. They're trapped. Then they will die, Elder Bora said. It is unfortunate, but attempting rescue would risk more lives. Daehyun stood. We're going to try. Hanwoo, Minji, get a team ready. We leave in 10 minutes. Velma stepped forward. I will come as well. My team and I have trained for situations like this. Elder Bora's feelers went rigid with shock. Velma, you cannot. This is illogical, dangerous. Yes, but there are people who need help. That is more important than safety. Velma looked at their elder with confidence. We have learned much from the humans. Now we will show you what we have learned. The rescue ship launched with a mixed crew. Daehyun piloted with a Veltharn named Taejin as co-pilot. Hyunwoo handled systems. Minji was on engineering. Velma and Kesra came to help with the evacuation. The flight to the gas giant was tense. The ship shook as they entered the unstable gravitational field. Warnings flashed across every screen. The Krell vessel was visible ahead, listing badly, its hull showing damage. They're hostile, Hyunwoo reported. They're refusing our help. They don't trust aliens, Daehyun opened a channel. Krell vessel, this is Commander Daehyun. We're here to help. I know you don't know us, but you're running out of time. Let us help you. The Krell commander's voice was harsh. We do not need alien interference. You have 14 crew members. We have room for all of them. Your pride is not worth their lives. Daehyun's voice was firm but calm. I'm docking whether you agree or not. You can accept help, or you can watch your crew die. Your choice, silence. Then reluctantly the Krell gave permission. Docking was a nightmare. The Krell ship was spinning slowly. The gravity well kept pulling at both vessels. Taejin, the Veltharn, worked the controls with precision they had never shown before. Training and instinct merged. They matched the spin and locked on. Inside the Krell ship, chaos reigned. Smoke filled the corridors. Systems were failing. The Krell crew was panicking. They were not handling the crisis well. Minji went straight to their engine room, tools in hand. I can stabilize this for 10 minutes. That's all we need. Hyunwoo coordinated the evacuation. Calm, orderly. Everyone gets out. No panic. His voice was steady, authoritative. The Krell responded to his confidence. But one Krell researcher refused to leave. They were frozen with fear in a corner, unable to move. The others had tried to help but failed. Time was running out. Velma approached carefully. They knelt down to the Krell's level, making themselves less threatening. I understand, Velma said through their translator. You are afraid. That is natural. I am afraid too. The Krell looked at them with wide eyes. I am afraid we will not make it in time, Velma continued. I am afraid of the pain if something goes wrong. I am afraid of many things. But I have learned something important. Fear does not have to stop us. We can feel it and still act. We can be afraid and still survive. Velma extended a feeler. Come with me. Be afraid if you must, but come anyway. I will help you. We will face this fear together. The Krell stared at the offered feeler. Then slowly they took it. Velma pulled them gently to their feet and led them toward the rescue ship. The Krell was shaking but moving. Everyone made it aboard with 2 minutes to spare. Daehyun undocked and pulled away hard. Behind them, the Krell ship fell into the gas giant's atmosphere, crushed by the immense pressure. Back at the station, Elder Bora was waiting. The entire Veltharn Council had watched the rescue through transmitted data. They had seen everything. Elder Bora approached Daehyun slowly. Her feelers moved in a pattern he had never seen from her before. Later, he would learn it meant respect. I have lived for 3 of your centuries, she said quietly. In that time, I have seen fear prevent countless opportunities. My people have become comfortable, safe, but we have stopped growing. We have stopped reaching for new things. She looked at Velma. You have changed. Your team has changed. You faced danger today not because you lacked fear, but because you had something stronger than fear. Purpose, compassion, courage. We learned it from the humans, Velma said. Elder Bora turned to Daehyun. By all galactic standards, your species should not exist. You should have destroyed yourselves with your recklessness. Yet here you are, not just surviving but thriving, helping others, inspiring change. We're not perfect, Daehyun said. We make mistakes, we fail. We've had wars and disasters. But we keep trying. We fail, we learn, we try again. That's all we've ever done. Elder Bora was quiet for a long time. Then she made a decision that would change everything. The Veltharn Council wishes to propose a formal agreement. We want to learn from you. Not just Velma's team, but our entire civilization. In return, we offer our technology, our resources, our friendship. She paused. And we wish to share this knowledge with other species. If your way of thinking can be learned, it could change the entire galaxy. Species that have been held back by fear might find new possibilities. Daehyun felt the weight of this proposal. That's a huge responsibility. What if we teach it wrong? What if we make things worse? Velma stepped forward. You have already begun, look at us. We are not who we were 3 months ago. You have changed us for the better. Let us help you share this gift with others. That night, Daehyun stood in the observation deck with his crew. They watched the stars together, thinking about the future. We came out here to mine asteroids, he said. Now we're going to teach the galaxy about courage. Minji laughed. Only humans would accidentally become teachers to aliens. Are we ready for this? Hyunwoo asked seriously. We have our own fears and failures, Sunhee spoke quietly. Maybe that's exactly why we should do this. We know fear, we know failure, and we're still here. That's the real lesson, Daehyun smiled. Then I guess we better not mess this up. He paused. Or when we do mess up, we'll learn from it and try again. That's very human of us. They stood together, looking at the future. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was waiting to learn that fear did not have to be the end of the story. It could be the beginning. 1 year after first contact, Jangmi 7 was no longer just a mining station. It had been transformed into something new. The sign at the docking bay now read, Human Veltharn Institute for Adaptive Psychology. Ships from 17 different species filled the parking spaces. Everyone wanted to learn. Ambassador Soman had arrived from Earth 3 months ago. She was a professional diplomat, sent to manage humanity's new role in the galaxy. She was skilled at her job but often felt overwhelmed. No one had trained her for this. How many applications today? She asked Jiwon during their morning meeting. 47, from 9 different species, some we've never even heard of before. Jiwon looked tired but happy. Her cultural liaison work had expanded far beyond what she had imagined. They've heard about what we're doing here. They want to learn too. The station now ran multiple programs. Minji taught engineering and innovation to species whose technology had not changed in centuries. She showed them that trying new things, even if they might fail, was how progress happened. Her students were starting to experiment, to create, to innovate. Hyunwoo trained security forces from 6 different species. They learned rapid decision-making, tactical adaptation, and how to stay calm under pressure. His best student was a nervous creature named Pip, from a species called the Thrin. Pip had been terrified of everything when they arrived. Now they led practice drills with confidence. Sunhee conducted therapy sessions. Many aliens carried deep trauma from their fear-based cultures. She helped them process these feelings, taught them it was okay to be afraid, and showed them how to move forward anyway. Her waiting list was 3 months long. Velma had become co-director of the institute with Daehyun. It was an unusual partnership. The careful, analytical Veltharn and the intuitive, adaptable human. But they worked together remarkably well. Where one struggled, the other compensated. The success stories were growing. The Krell, grateful for their rescue, had opened their borders to more outside contact. The Thrin, who had hidden in their home system for generations, had launched their first exploration mission in 300 years. Even Elder Bora had led a Veltharn expedition to uncharted space, but not everyone was happy. A coalition of conservative species had formed. They called themselves the Preservation Alliance. They argued that fear was natural, necessary, and that encouraging risk-taking would lead to chaos and death. They wanted the institute shut down. A summit was called. Representatives from 30 species gathered on a neutral station to debate the institute's future. The atmosphere was tense. The Preservation Alliance was led by High Arbiter Wanchik of the Dorvan people. He was a large being with scales and many eyes. He spoke with authority and anger. Humans are reckless, he declared. They charge forward without proper consideration. They take unnecessary risks. They will teach the galaxy to destroy itself. The Dorvan have maintained peace and stability for 10,000 years through careful, fear-based decision-making. This human influence threatens everything. Ambassador Soman stood to respond. She had prepared for this. We don't teach recklessness. We teach calculated courage. There's a difference between taking stupid risks and taking necessary ones. We acknowledge fear. We feel it, but we don't let it paralyze us. What have you achieved? One chick challenged. Your species is young. What gives you the authority to teach others? Daehyun stood. He had not planned to speak, but this required an answer. We've gone from living in caves to traveling between stars in less than 10,000 years. We've survived disasters that should have ended us. We've split atoms, mapped our DNA, and created artificial intelligence. Yes, we've made terrible mistakes. We've had wars and destruction. But we learned from those mistakes. We're still here, still growing, still trying, he paused. But that's not the real answer. The real answer is we're not claiming our way is better. We're just offering to share what we've learned. Take what's useful. Adapt it to your own culture. Ignore what doesn't work. We're not forcing anyone to change. Then Velma requested permission to speak. As a Veltharn, their words carried weight. Many species respected the Veltarn's ancient wisdom. For 300 generations, my people have been cautious, Velma said, their translator carrying their words to every delegate. We have maintained our civilization. We have been safe. But we have not grown. We have not dared. We have not discovered anything new in centuries. They looked around the assembly. In 1 year with humans, I have felt more alive than in all my years before. I have learned that fear is information, not a prison. I have discovered that discomfort often comes before growth. I have found that the unknown is not just threatening. It is also full of possibility. Velma turned to Daehyun. When we first met, our probe found no fear in humans facing the unknown. We thought this was a flaw. We were wrong. It was not the absence of fear. It was the presence of something we had forgotten. Hope. The assembly was quiet. Then Pip from the Thrinn stood. They were small, nervous by nature, but they spoke clearly. I was afraid of everything when I came to the Institute. I could barely function. The humans did not remove my fear. They taught me to function despite it. Now I lead security teams. I make decisions. I live instead of just surviving. I am grateful. One by one, others stood, representatives from species who had participated in the programs. They shared their stories of transformation. Not all of them were dramatic. Some were simple, learning to try new food, speaking up in meetings, taking a job they thought was too difficult. But all of them spoke of growth. The summit ended with a compromise. The Institute would continue, but with oversight and voluntary participation, no species would be forced to change. The Preservation Alliance and their allies remained skeptical but agreed to observe. Interestingly, over the next few weeks, several individuals from the Preservation Alliance species quietly applied to the Institute. Even in fear-based cultures, there were those who wanted more. Plans were made to expand. Other stations and planets wanted to host similar programs. Humanity's role in the galactic community had changed forever. They were no longer just the new species. They were partners in a grand experiment. Could the galaxy learn to dream again? Daehyun was offered a new position, Galactic Coordinator for Adaptive Psychology. He laughed when he read the title. I'm a mining station commander, not a psychologist. Velma looked at him with what passed for amusement. You help beings discover their potential. You refine it. You help them find what they already possess. Is that not psychology? He accepted the position. 5 years passed. The Institute had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Dozens of species had participated. Some embraced the teachings fully. Others took small pieces that worked for their culture. All of them changed in some way. Galactic culture was shifting. There were more joint ventures between species, more exploration initiatives, more willingness to try new things, to take calculated risks, to face the unknown with curiosity instead of only fear. Daehyun was older now, his hair fully gray. He stood in the observation deck of the main Institute facility. It was much larger than Jangmi 7, orbiting a peaceful world. Velma joined him at the window. They had become close friends over the years. Do you remember when we first met? Velma asked. When our probe found no fear in you? Daehyun smiled. I remember you being very confused. I was terrified, Velma admitted. Everything we knew about psychology was wrong. You challenged our understanding of the universe, and now I am grateful. You taught us that there are different ways to survive, different ways to thrive. You taught us that fear is a tool, not a master. You gave us hope. They watched as a shuttle arrived. It carried the next group of students, young beings from a dozen species. All of them were nervous but hopeful. All of them wanted to learn. One of them, a young Veltharn, approached them nervously. "Director Velma? Commander Daehyun? I am here for training. But I must admit I am afraid. What if I fail?" Daehyun and Velma looked at each other, sharing a moment of understanding. Then Daehyun spoke gently. "Fear of failure is natural. But here's a secret, everyone fails. The question is not if you'll fail, but what you'll do after." Velma added, "And you have already taken the first step. You felt fear and came anyway. That is courage. That is growth." The young Veltharn's feelers moved with uncertainty, then settled into determination. "Then I will try." As the student walked away, Daehyun turned to Velma. "Remember when I told you that you were learning fast?" "I remember. You've gone beyond learning. You're teaching now. That's the real measure of growth. When you can pass on what you've learned to others." Velma considered this. "Then perhaps we are all both students and teachers. Perhaps we always will be." "That's very human of you," Daehyun said with a smile. "Or very Veltharn," Velma replied. "Perhaps we have learned from each other." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, more species were hearing about the Institute. More beings were wondering if they could change, could grow, could face their fears. The Empath probe had found no fear in humanity when facing the unknown. But it had missed the real truth. Humans did feel fear. They just chose hope as well. They chose to try despite the fear. They chose to keep moving forward. And now, slowly but surely, the galaxy was learning the same lesson. Fear was not the end of the story. It was just the beginning. Beyond fear lay possibility, growth, and hope. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of wonders. And for the first time in millennia, the galaxy was ready to explore them. All because one alien probe could not understand why humans smiled in the face of fear. All because one species had learned, through millions of years of trial and error, that the best response to fear was not to run, but to move forward with hope. The humans had taught the galaxy something precious. Not how to be fearless, but how to be brave, and that made all the difference. The end.